Hi everyone, this is Manik Bhalla. I am the Senior Product Manager for AEM Guides.
Hi everyone, I'm Vinod Gupta. I'm the Engineering Head for AEM Guides at Adobe.
Today we would be co-presenting on the topic Adobe Workfront and AEM Guides integration. And in this session, we would learn how this integration is beneficial for AEM Guides users. We will also understand how using this integration, the workflow management and the work management capabilities can be drastically improved for the AEM Guides users. We will also understand in this session how we can build powerful workflow automation capabilities using this integration. So let's move on to the agenda. In this session, we'll first understand what is the current situation, how the current ecosystem of AEM Guides users work, and how the work management is currently done in this ecosystem. Then we'll also understand what are the challenges in the current scheme of things. These are some of the challenges which we often hear from the customers. Post we have discussed those challenges, we'll see what is the solution to address these challenges. And we'll also understand how this integration would be able to tackle these challenges in a well-defined manner. Then we'll understand what are some of the Workfront capabilities and how these capabilities can be leveraged in the AEM Guides ecosystem using this integration. Post which we'll be doing a live demo wherein we would be covering a couple of use cases on demonstrating this entire integration for this session. Post which we would be discussing what is the road ahead for the development team of ours, what are some of the things which we are working on, what are some of the things which will be coming up in the future releases. Post that we would be discussing some of the key takeaways of this presentation. So yeah, let's move on to the current situation now. So in this slide, you see, we are talking about 4 key personas who are existing in the AEM Guide ecosystem. The first and the most important persona over here is a project manager persona. So this is a user who basically plans, allocates and track the work in order to ensure that the project which this project manager is responsible for is getting executed in a timely manner. His responsibilities include allocation of the work to various different users in the AEM Guides ecosystem. Next important persona which we have for today's session is the authoring persona. So author is a user who create contents in AEM Guides ecosystem. So they basically are the subject matter experts who would be working on creating some of the topics and maps in the AEM Guides product. The next important persona which we have in our ecosystem is the reviewer persona. So whatever the author is creating content on, reviewer is responsible to review the content which is being authored by the author. The next very important persona over here is the publisher persona. So whatever has been authored by the authors, which has subsequently been reviewed by the reviewers, finally has to be published to multiple channels. So publisher is the person or the user who is responsible to deliver this content in multiple different formats. So now these are the 4 personas which we have in the AEM Guide ecosystem. There can be more personas also, but for the sake of this presentation, we would be covering these 4 personas. Now, let's say there is a project manager who is responsible to allocate work to different authors, reviewers, and publishers for their respective work type. Now, how do they currently allocate these work and how do they track the work? The project manager do this by using disjointed or non-integrated tools like Jira. They can also be using emails. Now, this is what they are currently using. This brings a lot of gaps and some of the challenges in the current ecosystem. Now we'll discuss what are some of those challenges which we often hear from these project managers or different authors, reviewers, or publishers. Now, when working with such a system and when using disjointed tools like Jira and emails, which I just talked about, it leads to increased overheads because when the users are working with the guides interface, they constantly have to switch the context between different tools and then again move to the guides product. This leads to increased overheads, which often results in project delays because it is difficult to keep track of the work which the users are working on. Now, it is natural when you are working with multiple tools and you are constantly switching between the screens. Sometimes your work gets lost in a lot of different threads, which obviously really leads to the project delays. Now, the third and the most important challenge which we often hear from the project manager specifically is the inefficient work planning and allocation which they currently do, which results in some resources like, for instance, authors, reviewers, or publishers. Some are underutilized and some are overutilized. So this is happening because of the use of disjointed tools in the current ecosystem of things. The next challenge which we often hear from the customers is that it is difficult to automate AM Guides workflows. Now let's take an example. If a project manager is allocating some work, let's say to an author, and once the author has completed their work, sometimes project managers want automatic workflow should be triggered after the author has completed the work. Now these kind of workflows are difficult to automate in the current scheme of things, and that is one of the challenges which we often hear from the customers. Next very important challenge which we often hear from the customers is that there is no easy way to maintain an audit trail. So let's say a project manager is keeping track of the work, he's planning for the work, then there are a lot of people who are working in that project. It gets difficult to maintain who the user is currently working on, what has changed since the last work has been done. So it is difficult to maintain an audit trail in the current scheme of things. Finally, all this leads to increased costs because there are costs associated with project delays, there are costs associated with various different disjointed tools. So overall, the project execution cost increases because of the current ecosystem which is there prevalent in the system. Now, we have discussed the challenges. Is there any solution to it? Yes, obviously there is a solution, and that's why we are here presenting this integration to you. Now you see the same personas are there, but instead of using the disjointed tools which you saw in the previous slide, now there is Adobe Workfront sitting in between these personas. Now instead of using the disjointed tools, every work allocation, work planning and work tracking would be happening via the Adobe Workfront, which would be built into the AM Guides ecosystem using the integration which we have built. Now, if this integration comes into place, then the challenges which we were hearing can get addressed very easily, and we'll be seeing how those challenges would be getting resolved. Now, this is the entire integration. These are some of the key capabilities of this integration. So first up, which is a very important key capability of this integration, that is the easier work management. Now, this was one of the challenges which were being heard by a lot of different customers, that it is very difficult to plan, allocate, and track work. Now, using this integration, the entire work management piece would become very easy for the users to work on. Second, very important thing, when we specifically talk about the guide ecosystem, is that the end-to-end content lifecycle can be managed via this integration. When I talk about the end-to-end content lifecycle management, I mean that the authoring, review, approval, translation, or for that matter, publishing, each and every content lifecycle piece can be managed using this integration. We would also be having powerful work automation, which can be catered by this integration because there is a Adobe Fusion tool which is coming up with the Workfront, which would enable these kind of automations to be built in the system. Vinod would be talking about this automation thing in detail and would also be showcasing a demo around it in the upcoming slides. Then we also have powerful and configurable notification mechanism. So let's say when a project manager is allocating some work, let's say to an author, so the author should get an automatic email or an automatic notification stating that some work has been allocated. Similarly, when a user has completed his or her work, the project manager should get a notification that somebody has completed his or her work. So this entire communication piece between different parties can easily be tackled using this integration because Workfront provides configurable notification engine. Then the project managers as well as other users would get access to robust and powerful dashboards and reporting mechanisms. Now, why this is important? Because one of the challenges which we heard and which we discussed in the previous slides is that it is very difficult to track the work. It is very difficult to manage entire work when working with the AM Guides ecosystem. But due to this integration and due to the ability to access certain dashboards and reports, the work tracking become very easy. The project managers get to know what are some of the things which are being worked upon. If there is any risk to the project, what are some of the things which are getting delayed. So these aspect of reporting and dashboards is easily catered by this integration. So Vinod would also be showcasing a demo around how to use these dashboards in the upcoming slides. Finally, another challenge which we discussed in the previous slide was that it is difficult to maintain an audit trail while working in the current ecosystem. But using this integration, there is powerful and well-maintained audit trail which is maintained when the entire work is being managed using guides and Workfront integration. So let's say somebody is working on a task And when they're working on the task, let's say they're putting some comments, they are changing some assets, they are removing certain things from that task, everything would be tracked via this audit trail, and this audit trail can be referred to by the project managers at any state. So it is very easy to audit what is being worked upon and how those things are being worked upon in the system.
Okay, so as Manik mentioned, the Workfront and Adobe Guides capability that we are building. So let us first look at the Workfront capabilities that it has to offer. So we'll look at that from 5 different verticals. So the first part is comprehensive work management. So using the concept of project and tasks. So the project is owned by the project manager who is orchestrating the task between his team members, and he can plan that appropriately. So using these two concepts, we can do the right work management. Secondly, planning and prioritization. So when we are delivering a bigger project, planning and prioritization is the most important thing. We have to iteratively plan and prioritize our work with the team members, and as things get a priority or the priority changes, we need to move them appropriately. So we need to have a better planning tool which is powered by Workfront. The third capability that we are building is the automated custom workflow. So as Manik mentioned, Workfront provides the Workfront Fusion, which is a low-code, no-code tool using which we can listen to any event and trigger a custom workflow to do the stuff. So this is a very powerful tool, and we're going to demonstrate 2 use cases using this workflow. The fourth vertical, which is the most important, is compliance and audit. So we have a complete audit trail of the work, how it has executed, where any author, any reviewer, any publisher, where they are, what comments they are pushing, and how the system is behaving as per the update given by them. So we have a complete audit trail in place. I'll be demonstrating that also. And the last is the reporting and dashboard, which is the most powerful. So as we are planning a project, let's say, which takes a month to deliver, so we need the ability to have the right reporting at every point of time so that we can take the decisions with data and not on the human hunch, which can go wrong. So the powerful dashboards provided here are going to be very, very helpful in terms of managing and orchestrating my complete project. So if we look at the current screen, so a Workfront task is shown in the first image on the left side, where a task has a task name. It provides the description of what is required to be done, the status, and when it is due. Along with that, we can see lots of attachments which are attached to that particular task. So this is a single task view. Then coming over to the right one, where I have list of all the tasks that are assigned to me. I can work on each one of them and get appropriate view of how my workload looks like. So with this capability, what are we providing? We have the capability to allocate the work. Then around the 3 persona that we talked about, author, reviewer, and publisher, we are able to distribute the task and move the task appropriately between the 3 responsible person on this work, and the project manager has the complete view of how things are going. Then we have the ability to automate different things and inform. So inform is the notification part. Whenever stuff are done, they move to the next stage and appropriate stakeholders are notified. And when the complete project is done, we can notify the stakeholders on how the progress has been going on. So let us quickly jump over to the demo. So I'm on the Workfront homepage, where on the top, I'm able to see my projects. So in this demonstration, we're going to talk about 2 personas. First is the project manager who is managing this complete project, and then the author persona who are subject matter expert in the content they author. So in the My Projects view, I'm able to see the projects I own and the projects I'm working on. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I have created a project Adobe DITAWORLD 2024. In the quick actions here, I have the ability to add a new task, a custom form like that from this view itself. But let us dive into the project now. So as we talk about any project, a project has a project name, a description, the project condition, which is based upon the status of the project, which in this case is at risk. So this is an action item for me as the project owner, that I need to see what the risks are and take appropriate action to mitigate that. Then the project dates, we have a planned start date, a planned completion date, and based upon the progress that has been made so far, a projected completion date is shown. So we can see the planned completion date was 4 June 2024, but the projected date is coming as 7 June 2024. So these 3 days delay is what is being reflected as at risk to me. Then a project has project stakeholders. So here the project owner is Vinod Gupta, the project sponsor is Vivek Kumar, and the resource manager is Manik Bhalla. So like that, there are lots of fields that are possible to be added here, and we have the ability to add a custom form. So this is totally customizable as per each organization. Each enterprise can choose to track whatever more fields they want to do on the project, and they should be able to move forward. On the top, we are able to see the project completion. So we can see this is 30.85 completed, the project owner, the condition, and the current status. So moving over to the task section. So the task section is one of the most powerful view of the Workfront. Here, all the tasks in the current context of the project has been created, like creating the Adobe DITAWORLD homepage, the agenda for day 1, agenda for day 2, day 3, and preparing different sessions. So once these tasks have been created, appropriate assignments have been done, and the approximate duration on each task has been added, and a planned start date and when we are expecting that to be completed has been added. So on the percentage completion part, we are able to see how much each task is completed by now. So this view is very powerful. We can see the data grouped by anything we want. So let's say we want to see the data grouped by status. We can do that grouping and able to see that 7 tasks here are in progress, 2 are completed, and 1 is new. Similarly, if we want to see the grouping by project status, we can see 3 tasks are running behind, 4 are on time, and 3 are late. So as a project manager, this is the action item for me that I need to go back and talk to the assignees here that we need to be moving on schedule. So moving over, here we have different views also possible. So I am seeing a standard view. I can see the view by status, wherein the task view would reflect itself in terms of status of each task, and multiple flags associated with that are shown here. So these views are again configurable per enterprise, and they can choose whatever view they want to pursue. Similarly, we have the functionality to do filtering here. So in the filtering, I can see all the incomplete tasks. They got filtered. I can see all my tasks. So I'm able to see only my task. So we have the ability to view the data by different grouping, different views, and filter. Additionally, we have the option to view a Gantt chart, a Kanban board, and the ability to export this data as a PDF, Excel, or a CSV. Moving over to the update section. So as Manik mentioned, that we have the ability to see the complete audit trail on all the tasks that are listed in this particular project. So in the comments view, I'm able to see all the comments that have happened on each task here. Similarly, in the system activity view, I'm able to get the complete detail of all the audits that have happened, the complete audit trail. I'm able to see that Vinod Gupta uploaded this particular document to this particular task, change the due date, set the status of the project like that, and all the updates that have happened are visible here. So this is a single view which is available to me as a project manager, where I'm able to see the system activity. Moving over to the documents view, here all the documents that are listed as attachment on each task can be seen, and I can navigate to AEM guides right from there. So as Manik mentioned about the workload balancer, so this is a very powerful view. In this, I can see on the top all the unassigned tasks which are there in this particular project. Then seeing each person's view, I'm able to see that Vinod in this case has lots of tasks while Sudhanshu is working on 2 tasks. So if required, I can do some load balancing here so that this task goes to Sudhanshu's queue. So I move that tile and this will be moved to his queue. So we can see this successfully assigned. So like that, if these unassigned tasks I want to move, I can take appropriate action. So this is the view where I'm able to see what is not going right, and I can do assignments across different people on my group. In the people section, I can configure all the people who are working on this particular project, assign view right to them, assign moderator right to them, or assign appropriate administrator right. So they can act on my behalf if required in my absence. Additionally, we have the ability to broadcast message to different users at once, and that will be delivered to them as a notification as well as an email. Moving over, so in the metrics section, as Manik talked about the powerful dashboards that Workfront provides. So we can see out of all the tasks, 2 tasks are completed, 8 tasks are incomplete, and 1 is overdue. So this is an action item for me. Why this task is overdue and not yet completed? Let us drill down. So I click this and check, okay, the preparing the agenda day 3 assigned to Sudhanshu is overdue. This was supposed to be done on 27th of May, is 90% completed but not yet completed. So let me go back and check with Sudhanshu on where we are with this. We have lots of visual charts here. So we can see the task by priority. So 6 tasks are of normal type, 3 of high priority. By status, we can see that. Similarly, in this pie chart view, we are able to see the percentage completed versus the incomplete task. Similarly, we can see this data against each assignee by completed task, incomplete task, like that. So that is all on the Workfront demonstration. Let us quickly look at the integration of Workfront that has been done with AEM guides. Now I am on the AEM homepage, quickly navigating to AEM guides. We will land up on the first My page where we are able to see all the recent files. Below that, I'm able to see my task. These are the tasks which are assigned to me as author or a reviewer or a publisher, and I can act upon each one of them. Let us look at the Workfront panel. So as we talked about the integration that has been done between AEM guides and Workfront, so I'm able to see all the tasks which are created by me. So we are able to see the task, the project, the assignee, the creation date, due date, and the current status. Let me go ahead and create a new task. So when creating a new task, I select the project, I give it a subject, I give a description that I want to prepare the list of all the speakers who are speaking at Adobe DITAWORLD 2024. We need to collate their name, photograph, along with a short description, their current company, and LinkedIn profile. So this task is due today. And for the purpose of demonstration, let me assign this to myself because I do not have an author right now. So I go ahead and assign it to myself. Now let me attach a document in which we want the content to be prepared. So I go ahead and create this task. So we can see a new task has been added, creating Adobe DITAWORLD 2024 speaker list. If I go to assign to me section also, this task has appeared here. So I can quickly go to the task. When I open the task, I can see on the left a Workfront task panel opens up, showcasing the task name, the description, the status, and when this task is due. Additionally, listing the attachment that has been added by the project manager. I go ahead and open this topic, start authoring my content, and prepare the list of all the authors. As soon as I'm done, I save this data and mark this task as done. When I mark this task as done, this would reflect appropriately in Workfront. We'll quickly see that also. And I add a comment, "Hi Manik, would you please proofread this?" So as soon as I post this, Manik would have received a notification that I'm asking him to proofread this document, and he will be able to take it forward. So quickly checking this task in Workfront, I navigate to Workfront. In the task detail, I'm able to see all the details that we have already mentioned. The project percentage completion of this task is 100%, and this status is shown as complete. Let us quickly go to update section. So I asked Manik to proofread, where he replied that this looks good to him. So that completes the journey between AEM Guides and Adobe Workfront. So when I come back on the Workfront panel in Guides, the task which we just completed no longer appears, and in the Assign to Me section also, the task has gone. So this is all on the integration between AEM Guides and Adobe Workfront. Now let us look at two powerful use cases of Workfront Fusion. So one common problem that we hear from the users is that as soon as they are done authoring, they would want to publish their content automatically. So how they can achieve this? So this can be achieved by Workfront Fusion, which is a low code, no code tool wherein we can put a listener outside of AEM Guides that can listen to all the events that are happening. So in this case, we are listening as soon as the document state of a particular document is changed to approved, the engine would run and publish this document appropriately to its AEM site. Let us quickly see that working. So here we have a website AEM site hosted where we are able to see for the V6 engine the remarks were 5000 cc. I go ahead and change it to draft, update my content to 2000 cc and re-update the document state to approved after saving the document. As soon as it is changed to approved, the Workfront listener listens to it and the assembly line runs there, taking care of publishing appropriately. So as soon as that is published, I receive a notification that this document has been published, and as soon as I go on AEM site, I can see the content updated. So that is a very, very powerful automation that is we are going to achieve out of this. Moving over to the next demonstration. So a common use case with data is the ability to reuse. So as a user, we have reused multiple content from our repository which were written once by some other user. But when that source content gets updated, we do not get notified unless that person, the author, comes and tell that you are a user of this document and you need to republish your content. So what we have done here is we have built the ability that whenever this source content changes, all the dependent content of that, the authors of that will get notified that the source content has changed and they can act appropriately. So here we are not triggering an automatic republish. They have the ability to see what change, what impact it brings, and they can choose to republish at their own end or ignore it. So let us quickly look at this demonstration. So here, this engine specification page uses a simple table at the bottom, which is a conref coming from the model details. Now, for the model one, the engine capacity is updated by its author from 3000 to 2000. He saved the data. Now, as soon as that save has happened, we can see in the engine specification, the data is reflected as 2000, but the publishing of it is still showing 3000 only. So what we have done, we have built this automation which says a content modification notification sent out by system showcasing that this topic which was dependent upon model detail has changed, and the notification is available in the Workfront panel as a task assigned to me in AEM Guides. So here we can see in the task detail, all the description, etc. what we showed in the notification is also listed. The same task is assigned to me in my task on the Workfront panel in AEM Guides, and I can act appropriately on that. So the Workfront Fusion that is running, which is listening to all the event on the source content, has triggered this notification, and I'm able to take appropriate action on top of that. So that is all on the demonstration. Moving and looking at the road ahead. So as we talked about the authoring use case here, there are further expanded use cases that we are looking forward for. That is the review and approval workflow, the translation workflow, and the publishing workflow. So all these three use cases we plan to build in future and include in this integration. Then lots of enterprises have already asked about multi-level review, where we need the ability to parallel review at the organization level. So this will ensure higher compliance, and we are on our roadmap building this ability also. So more automation use cases. So as we saw two automation use cases in this particular demonstration, but let's say one organization wants that after the authoring is completed, a review task should get created automatically. As soon as the review is done, a translation task should get created automatically, and the translated content should come back in place. As soon as the translation workflow is completed, the publishing workflow should be triggered automatically. So all these automations would be possible with Workfront Fusion that we have already demonstrated. So here the possibilities are endless, and they are only bounded by imagination. So whatever use case any organization is looking forward for solving, we are happy to discuss those use cases and look forward for the integration around that. And while this journey is happening, we are constantly gathering feedback from multiple customers to build more and more use cases as per their day-to-day requirement. So Manik, I'm feeling really excited about this integration between AEM Guides and Adobe Workfront. What are your thoughts on that?
So Vinod, I am also very excited about this capability, and I feel this capability, whenever it goes live, would solve the project management challenges for the users using AEM Guides, and their life would be made very easy using this integration. The project execution cost, as I mentioned earlier, also would go down significantly, because now they don't need to use the disjointed tools to do the project management, and all that can be done via this integration. And as you mentioned, and as you showcase some of the automation use cases, once the integration is live and once we are able to build these powerful automation use cases, it would be very helpful for the project managers as well as the other personas which you mentioned to build these kind of automation use cases and do any kind of thing which they want to do. So the possibilities, as you mentioned, are endless with respect to these automation use cases, and it would be drastically higher in performance improvement for the customers using AEM Guides. So I'm very excited about this, and I don't know when this capability would be live, but it would be live very soon, and the users would be benefiting from these capabilities extensively.
Right, Manik. So this is already on the roadmap, and we are working very hard towards building this capability, building it live in production. So we would be seeing it very soon.
So thanks everyone. Thanks for joining, and thanks Stefan for organizing this wonderful session. And we hope that whatever we have covered today would be beneficial for our users in the future.
Thank you everyone.